blesses everyone.
How can you forget Tiny Tim, a classic scene from the movie
You
A
had that
Christmas
like
Carol?
4-year-old smile right there going.
Yeah, it's my
face just lit
Christmas,
up.
my Christmas smile. Of course, that's just one version of this story, which has been
Right.
told so many times. Welcome back to America's Forum. I'm John Bachman.
And I'm Miranda Kahn. Thanks for staying with us. Yeah, that is one that just gets y'all warm, fuzzy inside. That movie was modeled after Charles Dickens' book, A Christmas Carol, of course, but according to our next guest, the book directly correlates with lessons found in the Church of England's Book of Common Prayer.
Interesting. Joining us now to discuss the Christmas message in the Christmas Carol is Cheryl Kincaid, pastor of the First Presbyterian Church of Clifton, New Jersey. Also the author of Hearing the Gospel Through Charles Dickens, A Christmas Carol. Cheryl, welcome to America's Forum.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, when you either read the Christmas Carol or you watch one of the versions on film, what part of the movie stands out most to you that directly correlates to the Bible?
Well, I think for most people, when they see the film, they hear Tiny Tim's prayer almost. He said, when Mr. Cratchit asked Mrs. Cratchit, how did Tiny Tim do today at church? He says, good as gold and so much better. He gets the strangest thought sitting by himself so often. He prayed today that he hoped that people saw him in church because he was wonderful. It might be good and pleasant for them to remember upon Christmas Day who made lame people walk and blind men see.
Cheryl,
But you know, there are other scriptural references within the text that often that end up on the cutting room floor when people make the movie.
So what inspired you to write this book? Was it so you could include some of those?
No, actually, it was a personal experience.
Okay.
I was in a car accident in 1993, and I had a paralyzed leg. And I had an argument with my church because the person who hit me attended my church. And my pastor didn't want me to sue them, even though it was their fault. But I went to a Christmas Carol with my sister, and it was the first time I'd been out like in 6 months. And I heard that line and I wept for the first time, because it occurred to me that Tiny Tim wasn't asking for healing. That's the first time I had ever heard that line with that thought. He was saying, God, just use me where I'm at. And it took me about 7 years to learn to walk again. And it was during that time that I researched Charles Dickens' life and understood why he came to write A Christmas Carol. And the biblical message that are intertwined through allegory and metaphor to preach the gospel.
And one thing that really struck me, even at an early age with this particular story, whether reading the book, the Dickens book, or seeing one of the movies, is the idea of redemption, which is a very biblical thing. And we talked about Tiny Tim, but when you look at Ebenezer Scrooge, once he is really sorry and repents for his lifestyle and the way he's living and the things that he has done, of course, he wakes up on Christmas Day and he has basically a new heart and a new outlook on life.
That's right. And you know, the first spirit that comes to him after Marley is the ghost of Christmas past, and he has a star on his head. And it's a bright light that Scrooge tries to put out. And that's the lesson of that candle, is that some of us, like King Herod, try to put out God's light. And some of us, like the wise men, lead that light to a better place. But when he puts the light out, the spirit cries out, what would you put out with worldly hands, the light that I give? Is it not enough that you are one of the people whose passions have made me wear this low upon my cap? And Scrooge says, I didn't mean to put it out, and expressed himself, why is the spirit there? And she says, your welfare. And spirit says, well, and Scrooge says, my sleep is better for my welfare. And then the spirit says plainly, your redemption then. Take heed to my words, Scrooge. That's one of the lessons where it comes right out of it. Another lesson.
Oh, I'm sorry, we're running out of time, but thank you so much for sharing your story with us. That's very inspiring, and I hope people learn some lessons through reading your book. The name of the book again is Hearing the Gospel Through Charles Dickens, A Christmas Carol. Thank you again for being with us on America's Forum.
Thank you so much for having me.
And Merry Christmas to you, each and every one.
You know, one of my favorite versions of that story is the Bill Murray version, Scrooged.
Oh, yeah, I haven't seen that forever.
It's just such a great story. It can be told a lot of different ways, but that's the thing about all great stories, whether in the Bible or out of the Bible. They have a long, long shelf life.
Right.
We've got much more to come. We're going to talk about some other Christmas movies right after this commercial break.